Student Video Guide, a pre-production and production tutorial. The video medium is a great tool you can utilize in order to enhance your course projects and share information. In this tutorial, you will learn how to conceptualize your project and prepare production materials. Gaining access to a recording device, such as a camcorder, smartphone, or audio recorder is the easy part. The harder part is conceptualizing your vision through this hands-on application. Before you start shooting anything, you need to have a plan. What are your goals for the video? And what is your vision? Without a goal, you can end up with unusable footage or even a confusing or unwatchable video. While certain equipment items can help you create a video with higher production value, your vision, approach, and techniques are the essentials to this type of media creation. You can apply aspects of familiar formats to your video project. For example, if you are creating a documentary project, you can pull from the structure of the 5-paragraph essay. Like an essay, a documentary video has an introduction, main concept, supporting concepts, a conclusion, and style or tone. In the introduction of your documentary video, you will want to include principal concepts or characters, establish setting or location critical to the story, present a conflict, set up a problem, or ask a question, basically initiate the purpose of your video. You will also want to hook the audience. In the body of your documentary, you will want to get to know the characters, concepts, or locations. Watch the action unfold. You'll want to get closer to the answer of the questions you're asking or expose the conflict. The body takes up about 80% of your video. In the conclusion of your video, you'll want to wrap it up, give closure, recap the points of your story, and ensure you delivered what you promised in the intro. In terms of video technique, you'll want to make sure that your footage is always serving the story. Only include media that propels your story, otherwise you can confuse your audience and detract from your goals. Establishing shots are visual introductions to a location or subject. They provide context for the audience and are usually a wide shot. For example, show the outside of the University of Pittsburgh's Cathedral of Learning before revealing the room inside the building where the action will happen. You could also show archive footage of a city or a map or a skyline to introduce the location. You could even create an establishing montage to introduce setting and location before the action unfolds. A-roll and B-roll. A-roll is your primary footage, like interviews, while B-roll is secondary footage used to support interviews or narration. B-roll can also be used to transition between locations or concepts. B-roll can also cover visual errors in A-roll, like jump cuts. You usually do not use the audio from B-roll in the final version, but it is good practice to record the audio just in case. An example of B-roll is to show footage of the interview subject, followed by B-roll of what they are talking about, while continuing the audio from the interview, before cutting back to the interview subject. In a documentary, you will want to supplement parts of interviews or events with complementary B-roll. Record these interviews first, so that the content can inform the kind of B-roll or found footage you would like to use. Write down specific areas or keywords in your shot log, like time codes, to help guide and reinforce ideas. Style and tone. Using and committing to a specific style or tone will help you evoke the appropriate emotions and reactions from your audience. For example, horror movies typically utilize dark shadows, brooding and building musical compositions, and handheld camera footage and rhythmic editing. You'll want to make sure that your technical style matches your content. Allow the content to direct your stylistic choices. For example, recording someone at eye level suggests equality and independence, while shooting up at someone glorifies their presence in a heroic manner. A character in shadows suggests malice or dark mood, so make sure your interviews are evenly lit so you do not confuse your audience's subconscious efforts to interpret your visual representation. You can slowly zoom or track in an interviewee's face while they open up about an emotional thought. You can also slowly zoom out of the comfort zone as they finish the thought, shift subjects, or if you would like to create distance. Here, Grey Garden's Little Edie explains how external forces such as politics and her complicated family dynamic kept her from fulfilling her dreams. Make sure you have your video structure finalized before shooting. You will also want to create an outline that contains your overall vision, key concepts, interviews or casting, and found footage. Make sure you fact-checked information and resources. And keep in mind that micro videos thrive at 3 to 5 minutes in duration. While you are planning, you'll want to make sure you have production releases and forms, including appearance release forms, location releases, call sheets, shot lists, and camera and sound logs. An appearance release form is a document that protects you and your project by ensuring you are the proper owner of the footage that includes the image of a person. The risk of a lawsuit is small, but possible. You do not have to use a release form if the person in the video cannot be identified or are simply passing through a public area. Use a release form for interviews or a person with substantial screen time. If you record a child, their parent or guardian must sign the release on their behalf. A location release form is a document used to inform others that a specific private property and its inhabitants are subject to video recording. You must have permission from the owner to post a location release form on their property. If you forget your forms, you can also use your camera as documentation and get verbal permission from subjects or make an announcement at the event so attendees know their image or voice may be recorded. If someone does not want to be on camera, you can keep them out of the frame or stop recording when they are near. Shot lists will help to ensure that you are capturing the appropriate footage for the day. Camera and sound logs are valuable production material. You can use a template or simply a piece of paper to jot down notes after each take. Logs will help you keep track of your best takes. Logs will help you keep track of your best takes or any issues or pleasant surprises that may occur while recording. For example, if your interviewee misspeaks or stumbles while they are talking, you can jot down that information along with the time code in your log. When you go to edit your footage, you know exactly where that moment occurs. Logs are especially important if you are shooting a lot of footage, giving the footage to somebody else to edit, or you will have a gap in time between shooting and editing. Call sheets are also available to help keep you and your set organized. Typically sent to all cast and crew the day before each shoot. There is a call sheet for each day of shooting. Call time is the time when your crew arrives on set, not when you immediately start working, so account for people arriving, greeting each other, and getting settled before they start working. When scheduling, make sure you give yourself buffer time. Most shoots take longer than expected. If possible, shoot exteriors first in case you experience bad weather. Your first setups of the day will usually take the longest, so if you can control your circumstances, schedule the most difficult shoots earlier in the day. That way, if you fall behind schedule, you have a better chance at making up for lost time, which will also help morale. Note what kind of B-roll footage you want to capture and schedule time and locations for it. Contact potential interview subjects in advance and work with their schedule. Include extra time in your calendar for equipment rental, testing, battery charging, setup, record time, tear down, and transferring media files. The more you prepare for your project, the more control you will have on set. Video sets are collaborative and team-oriented. A happy cast and crew ensures a better, quicker production. A solid production team is invaluable and leads to more projects in a tight-knit community, which is crucial to the success of a project. Technical pointers. Audio. Wear headphones every time you record. You could be picking up a hum, buzz, distortion, or other types of frequency interferences that won't show up on your audio levels. Check your audio levels. Do not hit the red zone. Point your recording device directly at the source of the audio. Try to keep the device out of the video frame. Adjust the position or direction of the microphone before changing the volume. Test record and listen to playback. Always review a clip if you are unsure if it was captured correctly. Avoid recording in noisy environments. You will not be able to edit overlapping sounds, so strive for clean audio recordings. Be aware of common overlapping sounds such as background dialogue, motor vehicles, or unseen sounds like tapping or footsteps. Sometimes interview subjects are unaware of nervous tics, and calling attention to them could make your subject uncomfortable. Typically, sounds like tapping feet or someone rubbing their palms together are dismissed if the audience can see the action occurring. If we hear a sound but cannot see it, it becomes a distraction. Create headroom, which is blank record time, between stretches of audio. These pauses in audio give you a buffer while you are editing and will help to make your audio sound more natural. Never cut early. Room tone is recording the blank sound of a room or environment to lay underneath your regular audio. Room tone is recording the blank sound of a room or environment to lay underneath your regular audio tracks. Technical pointers, lighting. For simple sets, less can be more. Manipulate existing lights like lamps, windows, and flashlights. Try recording at magic hour. Magic hour is the hour after the sun rises or before the sun sets. Remember that night shooting is tricky and requires additional light. Reflect or bounce light. Catch gleams of existing fixtures or sunlight and direct them to your subject using a white piece of paper, poster board, white walls, or tinfoil. Match color temperature. Keep in mind that windows appear a different color than incandescent lights, such as household bulbs. Check for shadows. Are you creating shadows with your body? Are the shadows unnatural? If you can't capture perfect exposure while you're shooting, it's okay to go a little bit darker. Finalize lighting before white balancing the camera. Best practices. Take notes while you are shooting. Write down time codes during interview sections you want to come back to or capture B-roll. Watch for changing shadows and sunlight in exterior shots. Avoid zooming while handheld. It will emphasize the camera shake. The proper technique for focusing includes zooming in on your subject all the way, focusing on your subject, and then pulling back to the desired frame. This is important because if your subject or camera moves during recording, your subject will stay in focus. Hold your shots for at least 10 seconds so you have some buffer room while you're editing to add transitions or cut your footage. Do this for all shots, including B-roll. Make sure you're giving your subject proper headroom. Compose your footage using the rule of thirds to create clean frame lines. If you need to adjust your settings, make sure you do it between interview questions or between events, not during the shot. Multiple takes are okay. Make sure you're getting it right and don't risk acquiring unusable footage. If you are not using your cell phone to record, keep it on airplane mode. That way, no interfering frequencies will disturb your audio. Name and date your media while transferring files, especially if you have many locations or days of shooting. Label your captured media and import after shooting to help keep you organized and ensure an easier editing experience. Best practices for camera composition. Know the difference between long shots, medium shots, and close-ups, and when to use them. In an interview, you want to be close but not too close. Shots from the chest up or shoulders up work for the talking head style interviews. Use wider shots to see the subject in context of a particular situation. Here is an example of proper headroom. Dividing your frame into thirds ensures an evenly composed frame. Here's an example of the rule of thirds. To create dimension and depth in your composition, frame your subjects where the intersecting points meet. If you are conducting interviews, make sure you test all of your gear first. Have your questions prepared. Ask your interview to wear the proper clothing, which is no busy patterns, not too dark, not too light, and try to avoid stripes. Find a quiet space with few people. Smaller spaces are easier to light and record sound. Don't have any unnecessary people on set, as they can be distracting or intimidating. Consider the corners of a room for background to create dimension within the frame. You can also create depth by creating distance between the camera, interviewee, and the background. Ensure your subject is physically and emotionally comfortable. Creating a safe space will result in a better interview. Engage in conversation with your interviewee to help you set audio levels. A good icebreaker is asking what they ate for breakfast. Do not adjust the volume while your interviewee is speaking. Have your interviewee say their name and spell it at the beginning of the interview. Ask if they have a title or would like to be credited a certain way. Use your judgment if you need to fix something while your interviewee is speaking. Recording media with your cell phone is an easy and accessible way to create video projects. Before you record, make sure you clear additional space on your device. Turn your phone sideways. Check resolution settings. In your camera settings, sometimes through the apps menu, you can find the resolution settings. Select HD video, which is 1920 by 1080. While either reserving gear or picking up gear, make sure you have a checklist of what you need. Your camera or a cell phone, headphones, charged batteries, a storage device such as a laptop or a hard drive for your media. Check the weather. Use lens tissue if you have a dirty lens. Remember to avoid touching the lens as they will pick up fingerprints. Cleaning the lens with your shirt tail or paper towel can actually scratch the lens. Bring pens and paper, release forms, and water for both you and your subjects or crew. Before you record, are you on schedule? Check the camera and audio settings. Did you charge your batteries? Formatting your memory card is a different process than simply deleting each clip from the memory bank. When you format your memory card, you clear all of the space, including the metadata. If you do not format your card and simply delete clips one by one, you are leaving metadata and not using the full storage space of your device. It can be easier for your interviewee or cast member to know what frame size they're working within. Focus your lens, white balance your camera, test your audio levels, stay organized, don't panic, and be kind on set. Some common troubleshooting techniques include turn off the device, wait a few moments, and turn it back on. Sometimes devices get finicky and need a hard reset. Try a new battery or a new SD card. Reset your settings or default your settings and then set them again, especially when using community gear. Think on your feet and solve problems creatively. Stay calm. Avoid the phrase, "I'll fix it in post." Most of your problems will be fixable during production. Take good notes. Here are additional resources you can utilize while you are finishing your video production. This concludes our video tutorial. Feel free to share what you've learned, and good luck with your production.